2021. The less said about the year as a whole, the better. But you know what? It was a pretty great year for anime, and that's what really matters. Hey, I'm your friendly ghost on the screen, and tonight I'm going through my personal top picks of anime series of 2021, and giving a little spiel of why I recommend this title. These titles are not ranked and are listed in no particular order, except for the final entry, which is preserved for the absolute favourite new show of the past year. There were a bucket load of great entries, but I had to draw the line somewhere, so not everything made it onto the shortlist. Without any further delay, let's get on with the show. First, let's start with some super popular series that everyone and their mum was consumed by. Attack on Titan, the final season. It just so happens that Attack on Titan has continued into 2022 because something called the final season wasn't actually a finale, but just part one of the finale. Go figure. 2021 saw the show transition from Wit Studio to Mappa Studio, which has caused a bit of controversy in the discourse around the show. While I do think there is definitely a noticeable step down in the quality when compared to the absolutely transcendent production value of the Wit Studio run, this is definitely far from being bad, and people really shouldn't be as upset as some seem to be. The people who should really be upset are the overworked and underpaid Mappa staff members. The story has had a very noticeable shift with a big focus on geopolitics and an interesting shift in the morality of Eren Yeager. Like I'm sure many of you who are watching, I have been with the series since 2013, which is almost a decade now. I am really looking forward to seeing how this story crescendos, and I'm also looking forward to being immune to the smug manga readers' vague spoiler posts. Starting airing in late 2020 and concluding its final episodes in 2021, we have the smash new show, Jujutsu Kaisen. I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't understand the hype around this show initially. Chalk that up to my pickiness with shonen battle series, I guess. But by the second half of this season, I really came around to this show. The basic premise here is about schools of sorcerers that fight cursed beings. This is the most recent incarnation of the Shonen Jump's legacy of modern day but supernatural, like Bleach before it, but more importantly, Yu Yu Hakusho before that. This show also comes from the studio of exploited animators, Mappa Studio. Here the animation really shines. It has this modern chic art style with designs that really pop without going overboard. And the fight scenes are so masterfully done. The clean and distinct action direction has really put director Sung-Hoo Park on the map as someone to keep an eye on and see what he does in the future. I am looking forward to seeing more seasons of this and the prequel movie that aired in Japan not too long ago. Okay, so hear me out. This recommendation comes with a giant asterisk. When Wonder Egg Priority was airing, I was super hyped on this one. I was telling everyone I knew, you have to check this out. Watching this week to week, I felt like I was on ground zero on something truly special. It was this bold new anime original with a truly unique vision and with the sheen of transcendent prestige anime. But time makes fools of us all. After a cliffhanger season finale episode, the show had much to live up to, with its delayed 45-minute true finale, only for the runtime to be half recap, the second in the show's short lifespan, and one of the most botched and baffling conclusions I have ever witnessed. It is really hard to recommend something when you know it doesn't live up to its own promises. But there is something really magical to those initial episodes, and I just can't help but highlight them. I can't promise people will feel the same knowing that it ends in disaster, where I was experiencing them with hope and blissful ignorance, unaware of the disappointment that awaited me. To Your Eternity starts with an alien entity being sent to Earth. It can change forms into whatever it touches and embody all of its properties. It starts as a rock, a lifeless, unthinking thing, but when a wolf dies on top of it, it becomes the wolf. Eventually this being will come to inhabit a human form and gain the name Fushi. The story is about experiencing the mortal human life, with all of its joys and sadness, through the eyes of something foreign and immortal. Bring the tissues for this one, because it can be an emotional rollercoaster. To Your Eternity doesn't have the best animation, and I do think the first handful of story arcs are stronger than the later, but there is a real emotional heart to this series that is really infectious. There is another season stated to come out in 2022, and I'm looking forward to it. Here comes the surprise hit of 2021, Odd Taxi. Come join Otokawa, a blunt and aloof walrus taxi driver who goes about his daily life, meeting eccentric customers and friends as a web of mystery and interconnected storylines get woven together in this mostly comfy, laid-back show. In the current unprecedented flood of anthropomorphic anime shows, this one sits at the top for me. But also, are they really animals? There is just something very charming about Odd Taxi. It is extremely offbeat and vibey in nearly every way. But there is also something very refreshing about its depiction of adult life in Tokyo. Big recommendation for this one. The original Megalobox aired in 2018, and it was a rather enjoyable cyberpunk boxing show, with a story that was serviceable, but a tad generic. The second season, rebranded as Nomad, takes the establishing characters from the first season and progresses them in bold and often dark directions. The show has a lot more grit and tackles issues such as drug dependency and the plight of immigrant communities. Fight animation here still rocks like it did with the first one, but with an added benefit of a more engaging narrative and characters surrounding it. Nomad now makes the first Megalobox much more recommendable. A commonly repeated joke for describing Vivi is, what if Hatsune Miku was the Terminator? Which is funny, attention-grabbing, and oddly accurate. But I think the most apt comparison you can make is that Vivi shares a lot of similarities to the hit video game Nier Automata. Vivi Fluorite Eyes song follows the story of an android pop star Vivi and her wish to fulfill her programming of making everyone happy with her singing. And of course, this means an AI from 100 years into the future requests her help to stop a destined AI uprising, resulting in the extinction of humans. Despite the show's zany premise, its tone is surprisingly somber and mature, with some hard-hitting emotional beats. But it also contains a high-concept exploration of artificial intelligence. Boasting some beautiful action choreography and some impressive production values, Vivi really delivers. Upon entering high school, Comey instantly becomes the class's idol, and gains scores of adoring fans based on her looks. Despite this, Comey is actually extremely shy, and has trouble communicating with others, hence the very self-descriptive title. There are a few aspects that elevates this show over some other high school rom-com anime. Firstly, Comey herself is a very likable main character. She is often drawn in two modes, the first being a depiction of what everyone sees, the Comey that is very stoic and angular, and the second being a better depiction of the true Comey, this rounder form with exaggerated eyes and a design that radiates nervous energy. At the core of the show, it is about someone with extremely bad social anxiety, to the point where she can't speak to anyone. And the comedy isn't mean-spirited about this aspect. While I'm not going to pretend it's profound in any way, it is however a light-hearted, well-meaning exploration of crippling shyness. Its overall innocence is a big factor to its success, and it's at its worst when it's playing to well-worn tropes. It is also very dynamically directed and storyboarded that really elevates the whole experience by having so many striking shots and clever editing techniques. One of the most interesting releases of 2021, and one of the most underappreciated, is the Heike story. This anime adaptation is based on the 14th century historical epic that has had a long tradition of iterations in Japan in many different art forms. It chronicles the fall of the Heike clan through the eyes of an adopted daughter named Biwa, who goes on to share the tale for generations to come. This is frankly one of the best looking anime out there. It is gorgeous and ambitious, definitely movie quality production value despite being a TV show. As a visual and audio experience, it is stunning and beautiful. While the story is engaging in the broad strokes, it is a bit hard to follow as it is bogged down by antiquated Japanese palace politics and etiquette, as well as trying to fit too much of a complicated plot into its short 11-episode runtime. Despite that, I never let that stop me enjoying the hell out of this show. The show's strong direction is plain to see. Do not sleep on this one. Can you hear that? Hang on. Listen closely. That's right. Jojo Part 6 is finally here. As a filthy anime-only fan, the gap between releases is excruciating, even though realistically it's only been 2 years. Part 6 Stone Ocean features its new protagonist Jolene Kujo, the daughter of Part 3 protagonist and fan favourite Jotaro Kujo. Jolene is sent to prison in Florida for a crime she didn't commit. The prison and the people inside are rather bizarre. This is perhaps one of the wackiest and weirdest parts to date. Some of the stand encounters are so insane, which left me absolutely unable to predict what will happen next. I think it's a true testament to the series that is still able to make its central gimmick feel so fresh and surprising after all these years. I'm having an absolute blast with this part, but also, what did you expect? It's JoJo. It's always great. If you haven't hopped onto the bandwagon for this one yet, you are truly missing out on some of the most enjoyable anime franchises going around. Don't start here. Always remember that part skippers are scum. Start from the start. Continuing the part 6 trend, we have the latest addition to the long-running series dating back to the 70s. For those of you who are unfamiliar, Lupin III is about a lovable gentleman thief and his crew of rogues as they go around the world and attempt grandiose heists. The main flavour this part has chosen is merry old England. There also appears to be a bunch of literary references and analogues that I think I'm too stupid to get, but the major characters of Sherlock Holmes are here to play with the Lupin crew. If I'm going to be honest about this part, this is easily the weakest of the modern iterations of Lupin. The franchise has had a consistently high quality for a number of years, and this one noticeably falls short of the expectations, but I do still enjoy most episodes and what it has to offer, and to spend time with these timeless characters. Perhaps this is more of a recommendation to the franchise as a whole, rather than this part in particular. Hey, maybe I should make a video on how to get into Lupin III. It's not as straightforward as JoJo on where to start, but it is also much less concerned about continuity. No promises that this video comes out anytime soon, or at all. Before we get into my pick for the best new show of 2021, here are some honourable mentions. These shows I also enjoyed, but not quite on the same level as the shows mentioned in detail. To be honest, this was not a tough decision to make. Ranking of Kings is a unique show with a unique vision, and its execution is stellar. The story is about a prince named Boji who is small, physically weak, and was born deaf-mute. Being the eldest son of a powerful king, Boji is set to inherit his father's position, and it is Boji's personal wish to be a great king. But in this world, physical strength and battle prowess are greatly respected attributes for royalty. To the world, Boji isn't kingly material. He must prove himself to be the person fit for the crown, but at the same time, there is an elaborate conspiracy around the succession of the throne. Ranking of Kings is a story with a lot of heart and with a wide range of emotions. In a single episode, you can go from smiling at the wholesomeness of the main duo to shedding a tear at some of the heart-wrenching moments. It is genuinely an emotionally affecting tale, and it contains a lot of brutality. The cast characters are also amazing, and are designed to have your perspective on them constantly shift. Ranking of Kings is one of those rare complete package shows you hope comes around at least once a year. I can't recommend this show enough. I could probably go on talking about Ranking of Kings for hours, but I will cut myself off here. As a bit of fun side info, if the Neon channel existed in previous years, then this would be the third year I would pick a Wit Studio anime as my favorite new show of the year. 2019 had Vinland Saga, which I've already made a video about, and 2020 would have been The Great Pretender. Maybe I should examine my biases, or maybe just Wit Studio does great work with great properties. You decide. Anyhow, I hope you enjoyed this video, despite it being hilariously late, and I hope you check out some of the shows I recommended. This is your friendly Ghost in the Screen, signing out.